We're not on yet. Okay, now we are. Okay. I do kind of wish that you were still making that weird growling noise, which is what I was hearing. You sounded like this. It was kind of cool.
We were Death Eaters.
Yeah. It was both scary and awesome.
No man, no Jedi.
I like that. Scary and awesome. Those are good mix-ups.
All right. And you were both recording, right? Just making sure we're all on track.
I'm not.
Well, I'm recording.
Sorry. You know what I mean. Okay. So are we ready?
Yes.
Ready.
Good afternoon. Today is Friday, July 26, 2019. Today, we're going to talk about Apple buying a huge part of Intel, Canada getting some Apple love, and where the heck is Apple Card? Because this is the iMore Show. Joining me today is the effervescent Georgia Dow. Ooh. That word works. I looked it up. Ooh, I am not, you are not a tummy cooling medicine.
Effervescent or also. Evanescence?
Ooh.
She's already heard me sing, so it's not.
No, I just remember the Electra fight scenes from Daredevil.
Well, yeah, that's you too. So there you go. How are you doing, Georgia?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How was your week?
It was awesome.
Was it?
Yeah, I had a great week. Though I'm happy to be. I'm happy it's the weekend. I'm happy we get to do the show.
Yes,
so
I love
Georgia
Fridays.
Works in health services, so her weekends are hella long.
That was so bad. That was such a bad. Everyone groan. Just everyone groan. Don't encourage.
She doesn't golf though. That's the good part. At least she doesn't golf.
Okay, now we get to see how she introduces you after that horrible joke.
And the dad joke giver of all times.
Man, vampires suck.
Oh, I like that one though. I actually like that one.
How are you
doing, Laura Gill?
I'm good. Did you do anything fun over the weekend? That is last weekend.
Georgia and I and her husband and their 2 kids went to see Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
That is so exciting. I've actually read the transcript, the play, and so I know the entire story, but I know it would be so much better if I could see it live. So was it worth the 6 hours that you had to wait watching it?
They do it in, it's like 2.5 and 2.5, and you get a break in between, but it is long. Like
the stagecraft is magnificent. Like when they change props and move staircases around, it's like sleight of hand mixed with computers, mixed with lighting, mixed with like trapdoors and rotating floors. And
that sounds so cool. Someday. It's actually showing in San Francisco, but it's really difficult to get tickets. So I haven't got my tickets yet.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go
you can just look at random people and yell Avada Kedavra and then like just laugh.
They'd all be excited.
You can't say that, Renee. Don't you understand the detriment that it can be to the wizarding community?
He's 100% Muggle. He has no powers.
No, I read the books. It's only bad in the first few novels. Towards the end of the novel, everybody is Cruciatusing and Imperiuming and Avada Kedavraing everybody else. It's like a Bacchanalia towards the last book.
I don't know. I feel like you didn't get the point of the book if that's how you see it.
Even Ron's mom is like murdering Bellatrix. I mean, it's great.
Hey, you know what? All's fair in love and war.
Exactly. That's how I feel. That's why my FedEx package is late. Avada Kedavra. I mean, it's perfect.
That's why it was late. You destroyed it.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's all no good.
I have no long-term thinking abilities.
Some crazy, well, actually, it wasn't that crazy. It was actually pretty much, we all kind of knew it was coming. But I think from my perspective, it was kind of like, oh, wow, that just happened. That Apple made an official announcement that they are acquiring Intel's smartphone modem business for, it's valued at about $1 billion. And they will, and it comes with 2,200 Intel employees. Renee, you actually, with the foresight of an aura, actually did a vector video. Was it just the day before?
Yeah.
About this exact thing. Yeah. So you kind of saw the writing on the wall.
For good. He uses his magic sometimes for good.
Sometimes, unless he's killing people.
That's why they spoke.
You must have at least had an inkling, maybe not like through any official channels, but just you kind of thought, no, this is coming soon, so I better do this video. What made you decide to make that video at that time?
No, exactly that. I mean, it sounded like it was going to happen from the moment that Apple and Qualcomm settled their long-standing patent and licensing fee. And if people aren't familiar with that, Apple was trying to not use Qualcomm. They didn't like the amount of money Qualcomm charged, and Qualcomm was suing them for using Qualcomm patents. And they all settled it up, and Apple ended up making a deal with Qualcomm to use their modems going forward, but also to license their intellectual property, which is the big thing here. If you go back a few years, when Apple started making their own chips, at first they bought PA Semi, and then they started using ARM designs, but then they licensed ARM's intellectual property and started making their own designs. And it just seemed to me like this was a parallel for that. They were going to buy Intel's modem business. They already had the license to use Qualcomm's patents, which was the only thing really holding the Intel modems back. And it made so much sense going forward. And like we talked about in the video, I got Ben Beharin from TechPinions on, super smart industry analyst, that it's not just iPhones. Yeah, sure, it'll benefit iPhones, but if we want to get a modem in, George and I are wearing AirPods, and right now you have to use them with at least an Apple Watch. But conceivably, the Apple Watch could become your iPhone, and the AirPods could become your Apple Watch with like health sensors, and they could talk to you. It'll be like the movie Her, but to get there, they have to be ubiquitously connected. All like the Apple glasses one day have to be ubiquitously connected. And to do that, I think what people don't understand is that what Apple does is so expensive. It's so expensive, almost no one else in the world can afford it. Like we've seen Qualcomm not be able to afford to make special chips for watches. So they rehashed their old phone chips because there's just not enough customers for it. So but Apple makes money off selling the whole device. So they don't care if they lose money on the chip. They'll make it up in some other component. So they're one of the few companies that can really afford, like Samsung, Huawei, Apple can really afford to do this. And Apple needs to have this internal because nobody's going to make those modems for them if they don't make them themselves.
That was the first thing that popped into my mind when the official announcement came out. Was it was almost more like, well, it's about time. You know, I think there's something that Intel all along has sort of struggled in the mobile modem business. They haven't really ever kind of gotten on top of it and ahead of it in the way that some of the other companies have. So I was actually a little surprised that Apple didn't do this a couple of years ago, especially with the Qualcomm issue that had popped up, where the big court battle that took a long time that ended up just sort of fizzling out in the end. So I think that Apple is in a really great position here to create modems going forward for its own devices and not be held back by what other companies can't do. And Intel at its current stage is kind of in that position. They're not just making modems for smartphones. They're not just making modems for iPhones. They're making modems for computers and all different kinds of things.
They dream to be. That's their big dream.
But it also takes away from their ability to invest a lot of research and development into just one department. So Apple's sort of taking that one department under their wing, where they can invest a lot of money in research and development.
I think I think they'll be happier working for Apple than they were working for Intel. Those engineers,
those 22 like. Are they going to be really excited now that they're going for Apple? Or
they're working for Johnny Sarugi, which is like one of the best organizations at Apple, and they're famous for people going like, no, you don't have to sell these parts. You just make them as good. Run as fast as you can. Let's throw some more money at you.
Yeah. Right. Just do anything you can to get us where that. I think that is something we know about the culture of Apple. They get this idea and they go, okay, this team of people, go make that happen, and we're going to leave you alone and let you do whatever you need to do to make that happen, and then you better come back with us with something great. And this is going to allow these developers to go out and do that. They're not being constrained by the sort of Intel version of that, which is, I don't know, because I only know one person who works at Intel, and he doesn't work in the mobile department, but it doesn't seem as creatively forward motivated. So this
what
is
does this mean for like the end user? What are we going to see? How are things going to change?
Apple previously used Infineon modems in the original iPhones, and then but Qualcomm had all the patents around CDMA, which is what Verizon and Sprint used, what Bell and Telus used to use, and also what's used in some parts of China, various flavors. but they also have a ton of 5G patents. So in order to make the Verizon iPhone and then later the World iPhones, Apple had to switch to Qualcomm modems. But Qualcomm is like two companies. One company makes chips and the other company licenses patents. And the patent licensing company always wins. And they're like, no, modems are so important. We want you to pay based on the entire price of the iPhone, not just on the modem. And Apple's like, you're absurd. Only we can get away with doing stuff like that. So there was this huge spat. And so what Apple did was Intel, meanwhile, bought Infineon. It's a German company. So they basically became Infineon, and Apple's like, fine, we'll pay you for your stupid Qualcomm modems for Verizon, but on every other phone, we're going to go back to using Infineon. And Qualcomm's like, well, those suck, so good luck to you. And Apple like just pushed
I remember
tons
that huge
yeah, Apple
debacle.
pushed tons and tons of money into it. And what Apple did was sort of clever sleight of hand. They never announced the fastest modems. They always announced sort of like one generation behind in terms of speed because that was as good as Intel could go. It didn't matter that Qualcomm was way better. They never announced that. So it was like the modems are the same. It's like if you only want someone to run a 12-second sprint, you don't care if someone runs 8 seconds. It's all below 12 seconds. It's fine. But
Just
it was
look
clear.
At the 12, and everyone's then checking their phone. Which one do we have?
Yeah, so some people had faster phones. Like if you had the Verizon phone, it was a better modem. But all the modems ran to spec. It's just that Apple's spec was low.
Yeah.
But it became clear that Apple was that there was no way to get to 5G without Qualcomm's patents, and they could litigate and try to say it's not, because the whole idea is that if your patent becomes part of a standard, you agree to license them freely, reasonably, and non-discriminatorily. And Qualcomm was not doing that. They were not being free, not reasonable, and they were being highly discriminatory. Like if you didn't buy their chip, they would charge you more license. There was a whole sort of bundling issues, but that would take years, and it was unclear Apple would win. So this deal gets them better rates on Qualcomm modems, but also gets them a license to all of those patents so that now they can make Infineon modems that don't suck.
Right.
It's the important part.
Right.
Yeah.
Long story short.
Now we can get like 2-spec everyone fast, hopefully.
Yeah, it'll take 5 or 6. Like it's not going to be fast because 5G is not fast. They're going to use Qualcomm. This year's iPhones are still going to have the Intel Infineon modems because the deal was reached too late. Next year, we'll probably switch to Qualcomm with the first 5G modem, but those will be second-gen 5G modems, and it'll be like what Apple did. Like the A4 and the original iPad was, an ARM design, but Apple put everything together. But then when you got to the A7, it was a complete Apple design. So like next year will be Qualcomm. The next couple, 3 years, 4 years will be Qualcomm, and I think after that we'll start to see them shift. And if there are like LTE modems left, they can do those way faster because that's a known technology. So if they want to put an LTE modem, an Apple LTE modem in the watch or an AirPods, they could probably do that within 2 years.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so we could see some major redesigns on AirPods in the next couple of years, or the Beats line even could see that, just because Apple now has a little more control over what the modems do. This felt big to me, like big the way Apple bought Beats big. Like it's a big investment for Apple to take on something like this, and the future. There's a big future in it, and currently, I would say that the Beats line doesn't feel as big of an Apple thing as it did when it first came out. But this year was the first year where I saw some significant changes in the way Beats were being made, which felt more like part of Apple's world at this point. So, that was a couple of years ago now. And I'm thinking, just like you say, Renee, next year or 2020, we will probably see 5G modems, but they'll be Qualcomm. And then a couple of years from now, we'll start seeing those custom Apple-made modems in our devices. So it
shows like it's smart for Apple to be able to have control over their own technology, and they've paid the price. We've all actually paid the price for not having their own control and being able to do whatever they want with it as they wish. So I think it's really wonderful that Apple's going to be able to build their own tech. They're going to be able to use it. Then we all end up benefiting. But probably we won't really see it for
That's
a few
the Cook
years.
doctrine, right? Like the Apple wants to control its
Yeah.
sorry, Apple wants to control the technologies that are fundamental to their products.
Yeah. And then they can do with it as they wish, and also build them as they see fit.
And they can go from like right now you have a thin modem. So you have the SoC, which is the CPU, the RAM, and the GPU. And then you have a thin modem on top of that. And ideally you want to integrate that all together because it's more efficient, it conserves more power, it's fast. It's
You mean
just
it could be
design.
even thinner?
No, not thinner. It'll be bigger.
The phone will be even thinner. You can't see it at all.
We've got some people excited though, like for the potential of like even Macs with Apple custom modems, which there's various reasons they haven't done that in the past, but it's just it feels like the sky is the limit. Like exactly what you said, Lori. Like they buy something new and everything is shiny, and we can get new headphones and new streaming music services. Or when they bought PA Semi and we can get Apple chips. Who knows?
Yeah,
It definitely doesn't totally relate, but whenever I hear about Apple buying out a different company, another company, I start that whole antitrust thing that's coming up in the government news. It pops into my head of like, well, here's another thing that Apple now owns for some government official who wants to make a name for themselves to start saying that this needs to be broken up. Obviously, the modem chip.
Apple needs to be broken up. You mean, or you think
right.
that they're going to start looking at Apple as
not us, Georgia, Apple?
Oh, okay. Well,
not you and I. We don't need to break up. It's definitely different because modem chips. Apple wouldn't just somehow like own the majority of modem chips, and that can only be used in their devices.
Right.
But
exactly.
The whole
monopoly.
like. Yeah, like Intel is big, and even though they're only taking a portion of it, it's definitely, I would say, that it's another like item on the list for somebody who's trying to make a name for themselves in politics to say, Apple is too big and needs to be broken up. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
They're making a chip for their own tech, and it's not like Tesla making their own type of motors so that they can run a certain way. Other people can still make motors. There's not a monopoly on motor, and only Tesla's making motors. Apple, the modems can be made.
No, I think Apple's exposure is still App Store. Like people like Elizabeth Warren are super upset that Apple runs the store and has apps in it. Regardless of those apps are either free or a joke or part of the system to begin with. That's the area I think of Apple's exposure. When you get to the companies are too big, I think that's like the Google, Facebook thing where there is no search engine competition and there is no social network competition. Where with Apple, they're not going to be number one in modems. They're not going to be number one in SoCs just because they don't make most of the phones.
I think that Lori's talking about how like just people go after Apple just because that makes a name. Like they're going to make a name for itself, even though there's no justification in being able to do so. We might hear about it.
Yeah. That you nailed my point.
How dare you make your own product?
How dare you
make an entire rubber duck, you stupid rubber factory? We're going to make sure you get the beaks from someone else.
There's no competition if there's no beaks being made by other people.
I know.
Beak monopoly.
Beak monopoly. Quack off. No, you're right. That there's no end of silly.
What the duck?
What the duck?
What the duck? I wouldn't be surprised if within the next day or two there's articles that pop up that say something like, Apple is doomed because they're buying Intel's chip modem department.
If there wasn't going to be now, Lori, someone will say it.
Yeah. Look out for that article.
Idea.
See, if somebody's listening right now going, I could make an article out of that.
Write that article?
You're cussing right, you can.
Renee, let's jump ahead real quick and talk about Canada.
Canada. What do we do now?
What did you get? You got
we got treats.
Actually, Georgia, did you have an Apple Watch, right? So both of you get this.
Yeah, did you get it? Should we tell them we're talking about it? Or should we make them guess?
Maybe we should tell everyone guess.
Let's get
3 letters.
Maple syrup, no.
We already have maple syrup.
Half the cast of the 90210 reunion, no.
Free healthcare.
Well, free medical care. I want the healthcare part next. Anyway, it's a whole different show. We got the irregular heartbeat notifications and the ECG app, along with Singapore, our friends to the east, on the watch. Can I put a finally on that? Is it fair to have a finally on that?
Yeah, finally.
I think so.
Finally.
Though it didn't take as long for Canada to get ECG as it did for for Canada to get the news app. So
Yeah.
it's actually
It wasn't
not that
5
bad.
years. Yeah, and most of the places still don't have either. So sorry.
Yeah,
No,
I've used the news app now twice.
Oh God.
Just gonna say.
So what about ECG though? Have you tried it? Do you have was it a positive?
Yeah, I'm alive.
Oh wow.
I'm alive. My doctor wasn't that impressed with it
Yeah.
though. He was like, and maybe it's just a doctor thing. Like they're like, this is something that you should come to us for. Don't do this on your own.
So what do you think? Did you try it? Did you run it?
We ran it and it was really cool. Like I just think that it's a cool thing to be able to go. It kind of shows more of the area where it can go. Are you going to do it right now? We're going to see if you're alive.
Live.
And yeah, so I was really excited. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I have no heart conditions that I like, besides having a heartbeat. But I think that it's really cool that you are going to be able to check on your watch and be able to use. Now, Lori, you've had it for a while.
Oh, I'm on the beta. I don't have it on this watch.
Oh,
it's not in the beta.
I'm
yet.
so sorry.
No, I have another watch that's not on the beta that it's on. I'm just not wearing it right now.
Yeah. That's the tragedy.
Of being on the
The
beta.
tragedy of the beta.
Has been using it just to test.
Yeah, we were worried that her husband would use it so often he'd wear out the digital crown.
Yeah, exactly. But he hasn't so far. He just found it kind of cool.
I did like, so there's a couple of things I really like about it. One is that the irregular heart rate notifications, there are some limits, like you have to be 22 years or over in every country because it requires way more clearance to use on children. Not that you're a child of 21, but that's the way the law works. Sorry, not their fault, not mine. Also, if you already have an irregular heartbeat, they don't want you to use it because the data is not going to be it's not going to be detecting anything really. But you turn it on and it will,
because it takes your baseline. Is that why?
Well, no, so you already know you have an irregular heartbeat, so it's kind of useless.
Okay.
It's supposed to alert you if you didn't know that you had one, and it discovers one. It's supposed to tell you that there's one.
Okay.
And then otherwise you use the ECG app to take the ECGs whenever you want to. But I like the onboard link with the ECG app. You have to hold it for 30 seconds. If you stop, it says hold it again. It wants you not to move. And it very clearly walks you through and say, you should not be using this to detect a heart attack. Like this is what it can do. This is what it can't do. And it makes you go through those screens.
Yeah. The only issue for me is my people that have health anxiety. I have a lot of people that have health anxiety that check their pulse or their heart rate, 30 times a day. So if you have health anxiety, this might be something you want to tape up the buttons so you don't get so you can't be able to use it.
But maybe they were at the pharmacy at that weird machine all day.
They do.
Yeah.
No. But they count their pulse themselves and they'll use the watch and they'll
go to
in
a pharmacy and they'll have a 12-lead machine at home.
Yeah. No, they do. And so that's the only one that I go, don't use this. Use this for good, not for, increasing your anxiety.
Yeah, we talked about that when Apple first announced the ECG, which is, and what we've seen from it is a lot of good stories have come out about people whose heart, irregular heartbeats have actually, it's helped. I'm not going to say it saved their lives because you can't rely on your Apple Watch to save your life. It's like a bad thing to make that assumption. But there's a lot of people who discovered problems with their heart that they were able to discover through using their Apple Watch. But it was something you brought up, Georgia, which is that for people who already have anxiety about their heartbeat, this increases that or encourages you to continue bad behavior like that. And even for people who maybe didn't realize they had that kind of behavior in the past, now that they have a heart rate tracker and an ECG monitor, they might find themselves checking their heart rates all day long for no reason, and then increasing that fear.
Yeah, I can see other people being comforted that this will tell me if there's something wrong.
There was this really...
And maybe be able to let go of checking as much too. Like I could see some people might be in that.
There was this odd title on an article, and I forget which publication, so I won't try to guess, but it said that Apple's new ECG app didn't work the way I expected. And the article is about how she got it and she tested it and it found a problem. And she went to her doctor. The doctor said, yes, you have a problem. It's not serious, but I'm glad you came in. And she's like, I didn't expect that to have a problem. And that's why the Apple Watch didn't work as expected.
Yeah. So in other words, what she was...
how it expected to work.
Yes, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And what she was saying under that circumstance was, I didn't think that my Apple Watch was going to do anything particularly helpful to me. I thought I was fine. I thought the Apple Watch was just going to be or the ECG monitor was just going to be this silly little thing. Turns out it was much more useful to me than I ever realized. And that's a really great example of yet another good story coming out of having something simple like this. And to kind of like reiterate again, it is not something, it's not going to catch your heart attack. You shouldn't, if you have symptoms of stroke or heart attack, you should not be checking your heart rate on your Apple Watch. You should be calling 911.
Right,
yeah.
It will tell you if you tap in any of the symptoms that sound like a heart attack or stroke. It'll say, "Stop this. Here's the emergency call." But no, it'll put the call emergency services button on the screen. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Use this first. Use this first.
Yeah.
But again, I love that it's like there's a wonderful thing that, you know, emergency services is right on your wrist. Like when I fell down, like to be able to call.
You didn't fall. Just set the stage properly. You went down the stairs.
I went down.
You didn't just trip.
Slipped. I did not just trip. I slipped down the stairs, fell, broke my butt, and truly I did. And I was really, really out. But I felt so comforted that it's like, did you fall? I'm like, yeah. It's like, do you want emergency services? And I'm like, no, like, I got this. But to be able to have that was amazing.
Well, so you had someone home with you. If you didn't, it would have been much
exactly. And then I could have called, or I could have called someone else. But it was with me. My phone sometimes is not, because girls' pants don't have pockets in all of them.
We've had people in accidents where like the car gets hit and the phone goes flying. It's under the seat. They can't find it, but the watch is on them.
The watch is on you, and so it's one more aspect of this can help keep you healthy and alert.
Well, there was this person on FaceTime audio on their phone telling the rescue boat where to fight. He's like, no, I'm in the shark infested waters. No, I see your boat. Turn left. Turn left.
So great. That's great.
Yeah.
And that's what's so exciting about the watch and where
but
they're
Apple
going
doesn't
with
innovate anymore. They're so doomed.
You know, like can we talk for a second about that? Like I don't
want to talk about it anymore.
So boring.
I don't want a phone that had like, I do want like lights and LEDs. I want that, but I'll buy a case that has it or something. But I want a phone that works. I want it to be safe and secure and reliable more than round or a ball shape or like innovation for innovation's sake.
Phone. You throw it at people.
But that's ridiculous. I want something that works reliably and gives me things that makes my life better. It doesn't have to look all like, aren't we past that? I guess we're not.
No,
we're not. Okay.
No.
Think about how when Apple Watch first came out, we were thinking of it as this device to let us get away from our phones a little bit. And look what it's turned into over the last few years. And it's really just because of the way people in the wild are actually using their phones. It's really the focus has gone away from being this thing that gives you notifications and alerts into this thing that is more fitness focused, but isn't just a fitness tracker. It's also really great for all of your health things and for, you know, finding out if you are, you know, have some heart issues or saving your life when you've, you know, been trapped under a building or something like that. It's fascinating to me to see the Apple Watch, how it changes and grows and becomes important to people in different ways over time. That, you know, at first we just thought of it as this tiny phone on our wrist, and now we're thinking of it as like, you know, a life-saving.
And after watching like Continuum and Captain Marvel, I know that this eventually evolves into a full wrist computer with weapons and invisibility.
It's probably true.
And the whole and then
That's
hacking.
True. Yeah. But then Apple would have to innovate.
Oh damn.
I would love an invisibility cloak on my Apple Watch. That would be pretty fun.
I'd be acceptable. That would be acceptable for me as well. Yep. But I also use it for things that I don't use my phone for at all. Like I will actually look for my watch if like, you know, I'm not wearing my watch and I've lost my phone. I don't know how many times I have to, like I use it for different things. It's wonderful when cooking and someone calls and I can answer, and the sound quality is now, it's amazing. Like it's phenomenally good. Most people don't even know that I'm on my watch. And so I can go bike riding or deal with that and go through turn by turn. And I don't have to like, it's made my life better. I really like I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's not that. I see so many watches, Apple Watches in the wild. So many.
We were talking about that. We were in the Harry Potter thing. And like the 2 people next to me had Apple Watches. The 3 people in front of me had Apple Watches.
Mhm.
2 of the 3 security guards who let us in had Apple Watches. They're just
Mhm.
they're percolating.
Yeah, they're in my town. I see them everywhere for all different places, all different environments. You know, clubs, grocery
Yep.
stores, all over the place. So yeah, it's
I see
definitely.
like 25 Apple Watches to every. I saw one Fitbit just recently, and I was actually a little bit shocked. I'm like,
Yeah.
huh, really?
Well, you got that different thing that's not an Apple Watch.
Yeah, that's why I noticed it. I went, oh.
It's sort of like it's sort of like when you see that one Zune
Yeah, well,
in the
for
old
me, I
days.
also tell people to use the Breathe app.
Yeah.
You know, you have to do your breathing. It's really hard to remember, and it does that. So
It's
this
so
is
funny.
awesome.
I was using the Siri every once in a while. I go to the Siri watch face just to see if it's gotten any better. And the breathe app always goes to the top, and I accidentally touch it, and it starts breathing. I go, stop, I'm too big. And then I realize that that's the time I should probably be using it.
Yeah.
It's when it is frustrating me that it
So the
pops
Breathe
up.
app actually gives you a little bit of mild anxiety.
Well,
Oh,
no, it's
well.
because it's never the right time. Then I realize it's never the right time.
Yeah, well,
And
let's be
it's
honest.
telling
The Siri
you
one, though,
stop.
it's not getting better for a while.
The Siri watch face.
Let me.
It's so different. I don't know why they call everything Siri, because a lot of stuff they call Siri have nothing to do with Siri.
Yeah,
Yeah,
using
the Siri
on
watch
your
face is
is
not very
pleasant.
Siri.
Yeah.
Show it again. I don't use it, so
it gives you things that it thinks are going to be valuable to you.
I don't know.
But sunset tomorrow is not high. I don't know. Anyways,
Shortcuts on Apple Watch someday.
Poor Siri face. Poor Siri watch face.
Yeah. So tell us in the comments what you want for the watch.
But before we go on, I'm gonna do a little bit of a sponsorship hit.
Woo.
This week's episode is sponsored by our friends over at Wix. And if you don't know what Wix is, you can find out more by going to wix.com/podcast. That's how we use our stuff to see what they have to offer. Wix helps you create a professional website when you don't know how to do it yourself. There are more than 140 million people out there that have used Wix to build their own website, including us, for the iMore Show podcast. There are hundreds and hundreds of templates to pick from. So if you don't know where to start, there's a bunch of different things that you can do. But if you do know where to start, you can customize your design with videos and galleries, lists, social buttons, and a bunch more website building features. It's perfect for people who just don't know where to start. And it just presents it all to you. If you you don't just build a website and then hope that it's beautiful and then it'll go viral. Wix also has built-in SEO tools that will help you push your website to the top of those search engines like Google and Bing. Websites are automatically optimized for mobile devices like iPhone and iPad. So you start with a blank slate, and if you're like me and have zero creativity, it just provides all these great looking templates, and then you just pick what you want. You add it here and there. If you get bold, you can customize by dropping in some buttons and some lists that you think look good that you want to go here or there, and then you go, bam, I'm done. Now what? And then Wix goes, actually, you're not done. You need to get yourself known. And so that's when they present those SEO tools for you to use to help bring that up to the top. Micah in the past has talked about using their artificial design intelligence, which we've used to build our website, imorepodcast.com. It's pretty incredible. Micah built our imorepodcast.com website in about 12 minutes. So what happens is you go to the site, you use the ADI tools, the artificial design intelligence tools. You answer a couple questions about the type of website that you want to build and things like that. And then you're asked to upload an image. In our case, we uploaded the iMore Show podcast logo, which is yellow and it has some black in it. And then you just hit the go button and the ADI tool just builds a template for you based on all that information that you put in. In our case, when we put in the iMore logo, it built a color template that was exactly the same color template that we use with the logo. So it sort of automatically branded our website for us. We didn't have to do any work or try to figure out what those color coordinations are or anything like that. And all the wording is there, all the texting is there. It's all just kind of bam, ready for you. Building a website in 12 minutes is pretty darn nice. It's like magic. And if you actually do know what you're doing when it comes to building a website, Wix does have you covered. It's called Wix Code, and it offers sort of deeper technology to build advanced web applications. You can set up things like databases, content-rich sites without coding. Using the special Wix Code APIs and JavaScripts, you control your site's functions, and you can create dynamic pages. And of course, just like with the build it for you version of Wix, the build it yourself version of Wix has SEO compatibility. So you can get started by going to wix.com/podcast. That's that's wix.com/podcast to get 10% off. And that is again, wix.com/podcast for 10% off. So thank you very much, Wix, for sponsoring this week's episode of The iMore Show.
Woo-hoo. Thank you, Wix.
All right. So speaking a little bit more about Canada, I need to be wearing like a Canadian flag on my shirt.
Oh, I'm wearing my Nintendo stuff, Lori, from the Nintendo store, saying Nintendo.
Nice. Nice. You went to the Nintendo store in New York?
Yeah, apparently there's two. There's one in New York and there's a brand new one in Tel Aviv. I don't know why there isn't one in Tokyo, but it used to be a Pokemon store for like 3 years and then it rebranded as an entire Nintendo store.
With still Pokemon stuff.
Yeah, it sells Pokemon stuff, but Zelda and Mario, sorry.
What are you, Canadian or something?
Yeah, I know. So what were you going to say about Canadians?
We also heard a nice rumor, and based on how quickly ECG came to Canada, that you are going to be getting Apple Card in the not too distant, hopefully, future after the gets it. This is big news. I know.
It's the thing I don't understand. So the thing that's so great about the U.S. market in so many ways and terrible is that Singular was so desperate they would let Apple do whatever they wanted and with the iPhone. And now Goldman Sachs is so desperate they'll let Apple do anything they want with the Apple Card. And the banks in Canada are federally chartered. There's very few of them. They're very non-competitive. We have almost no good credit cards. We have a few Caisse Populaire, which are like what are the Caisse Populaire in English? They're like credit unions.
Yeah,
credit unions.
Charter.
But like, I don't know what bank would use it. It feels like they give up too much control and too much money.
And they have a monopoly here. So because of that, like you have to go through the government oversight. You have to go to the banks. What would they benefit versus what Apple would benefit?
Like, don't get me wrong, I'd want it. Like I want it yesterday.
I just like the look of it.
I'm so curious if it is true.
Yeah.
I'm so curious to see who they partner with because that'll tell us a lot about the future of banking in Canada. And Australia and other countries.
The interesting thing is that I would wonder if once they get an agreement with one bank, that would then be that it could be to all banks because they've already gone through then the government system.
But I don't think they would do it. I think this has to be competitive. It has to be one bank that does it because someone else has like the Avion card, someone else has the Amazon card, and it's much more of a marketing deal. Like Apple Pay will go everywhere, but I don't think the Apple Card. I think the Apple Card is going to pick one ally. But like Lori, you were thinking you were going to get it this week, and you got denied too. So I feel for you as well.
Yeah. So that was we're so close. Like way back in the day, there was information that came out. I don't remember. Renee, maybe you remember. Did they actually say it was coming in 12.4, or was that just a rumor we heard that it was coming in 12.4?
They said it was coming this summer, and I don't know if it was official or not. But I think we always. We knew that the hooks for it had to be in Wallet app for 12.4.
Okay,
because Apple employees were already using it internally.
Yeah, so 12.4 did come out last Monday. This most recent Monday, as planned. We were all ready for it, but there was no Apple Card, and it was a little disappointing. I mean, I think it's smart for them to make sure that they're ready. That, I think, Renee, you've said this before, that if the card's not ready, it's a bad user experience for everybody. Yeah. So they've got the term that you use, they've got the hooks in. And that basically means that the software is in there. They just need to turn on they need to flip a switch.
And all their employees, which is not a non-trivial amount of employees, are busy testing it as we speak to make sure they hit any problems before we do.
Right. And when it comes to our finances, I appreciate that. So I might be complaining about how much I want Apple Card, but it's not like an iPhone. It's not, you don't just go get it and then change your mind and return it, or, you get it and you use it for a couple of years and you don't like it. It's, a credit card is a very important sort of, you need to be responsible with it. And it does, when you apply for a credit card, it does a hard pull on your credit history.
Well, and they
Which
learned the painful lessons. Like if you remember iOS 2, it launched the App Store and iOS 2 and Mobile Me all at the same time, and the servers just melted. So like the worst case is that they put out the card the same day as the software and it just doesn't work for anybody. But now the software is out, and they can test all of that with the cards with their because if their employees have problems, they'll resolve that internally. But the worst thing would have been for it all to come out on Monday and Lori's like, this card is useless. It has one job. Why doesn't it do that? But this way, at least like the card will come out, and maybe they'll even do staggered because they're still going to have a ton of people hitting those servers right away. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. I think that the smart thing to do would be to roll it out, not even just well, I guess it's only coming out in the US first.
Yeah.
Unless something changes before that happens, but rolling it out in sections, like, West Coast, Best Coast first, and then, throughout the day or week, they can kind of roll it out across the other parts of the country.
But it'll be like a swarm, right? Like the minute they announce it's available, it's going to be like wildebeest hitting the apply button.
So there's a lot of hype around it, and I fell for it. I think I wrote a little
you did.
editorial about like, I have fallen for the hype the way I fall for an iPhone's hype, and it's a credit card. I have never felt excited about a credit card. That's just silly.
I just like how beautiful it looks.
Yeah, titanium.
I want to be able to use it to like cut things open and like do other stuff.
Like Bullseye, where you just like you say like, but me, I'm magic, and you just shoot the card and someone falls.
I'm pretty good at shooting a card. I bet a titanium one would be dangerous.
So I might have Avada Kedavra, but she's gonna just be Bullseye.
She's gonna ninja people with her metal card.
That would be probably really bad. Yeah.
I'm actually really excited about the privacy aspect of this. The more I talk to other people about, what they expect from it and what they think it's going to be, the more I'm excited about the idea that every purchase that I make with this card isn't going to like collect this sort of online or in person shopping personality of me that will then get sold to me in the future. I love this idea that it's all secret. There's these like secret numbers that get created based on me. By the way, I've talked about this quite a few times. I've been so shy to start using Apple Pay because of my one bad experience back when it was still pretty early on. More and more places around Sacramento are using Apple Pay, and I've used it a bunch of times. Like a lot of the stores I go to now, I see that little Apple Pay logo and I just pull out my phone and I use it, and it's been a great experience. So this is just going to further that for me, using the Apple credit card along with Apple Pay. It's all kind of, putting me into another ecosystem that I'm probably going to love, and it's probably going to cause antitrust issues with political figures who want to.
What's so funny is a mutual friend, Daniel Bader, was asking how much, like, do you ask someone to break money for a tip when you pay for coffee? I just realized I haven't used cash in so long. Like when I went to America, I did, but in Canada, because even our credit cards have tap to pay. So I just don't use cash. I go to places and you just tap, tap, tap everywhere. And it's such a weird thing now.
Yes. Yeah. Even just signing things is weird to me now. I'm like,
in a restaurant in the US, they take your card away. And like, I'm like, no, where are you taking my card? Because in Canada, they bring a little machine, like a little iPhone to your table, and you tap on it, you tap your card, and they go away. Like it never leaves your possession.
Ever. Yep. So it's like a strange thing where you're like, oh, I have to actually do manual labor to pay for this.
So
I'm
weird.
Like, oh, okay, I'll do that.
And not to throw out the scare tactics, we've had credit cards in the U.S. And used that process for as long as credit cards existed. But I always, when I hand my credit card over to a server to go, ring up my check, I'm always like, are they writing my credit card number down somewhere? Because you don't see it anymore. They go away and then they come back with a receipt. And so it does cross my mind of like, I wonder, what are they doing with my card? And this is nobody does this anymore. It's very rare, but credit card machines used to be this piece of metal that you swiped on a receipt. So you would use this carbon copy thing, and it would actually imprint your credit card number right onto this receipt. And that's how people used to, like
Yeah, I
collect
remember
their,
that.
yeah. And that, so, they're literally like storing a physical version of your credit card in their safe at night that, somebody, it just doesn't have your signature on it, but it has all of the other, numbers and things like that. So we're definitely getting like better at the security part of it. I think in the US, we're still so far away from the kind of credit card swipe at the table that you're talking about. And it's because the infrastructure is so deeply ingrained in most businesses to have those old school like plugged in machines where you have to sort of send this information and get approval and have it brought back to you. There are some businesses in my area that do what you're talking about, and it is definitely a pleasant experience to just they show up at your table and
Yeah.
you go to hand them the credit card and they're like, oh no, it's right here, just do it.
Here,
Like,
take this little machine and do it all on your own.
Yeah, it's kind of great.
While you were talking about this, Lori, it reminded me that I didn't verify because I changed my phone and I didn't verify my card for my Apple Watch. So when I tried to use it, it's like card not verified. I put in all the information with my new card information, but I didn't verify it. So during that time, I got to verify my card. I am back in with Apple Pay.
Nice.
I do not have to carry around a wallet unless I wish to.
And you have a small Ewok on your lap.
I have a small little creature
Hi,
who's come to visit me. She hears you
Yub nub.
in my ears.
She can kind of hear it. Yeah.
Puppy!
Oh, such a cutie.
There we go.
There we go. So cute.
She's
Yub nub.
my strange little dog.
Oh, yeah, she's adorable. Hi. Oh, hi. One of these days I'll bring my big fat cat in here and coo over him.
Yeah, we can do a pet episode. Stuff that's for your Apple.
Let's invite Micah back
for your pets. Yes.
Yeah. Sure. Micah definitely has to come back for the pet episode for sure. So moving on from Apple Card, actually one more thing, a rumor did just come out. I think it was this morning, that there's a chance that it's coming within the first 2 weeks of August. So within 3 weeks, we might see it. Maybe sooner, but the rumor is that it's the first half of August is the wording that's coming out.
Lori?
Absolutely. I know it's silly.
No, I get it.
Part of it is that
it's secure.
Yeah, part of it is that I want to be able to tell people how the process works and what the experience is like. So I'll be able to write some guides on it.
You need to write about it.
Yeah, but I would have still applied for it even without, because I don't know. I'm just really excited about it. It's great.
I have to see the reaction of other people when you just give it to them to see, because it looks really cool.
Or you drop it and it slams to the sidewalk and cuts halfway through.
Yeah, I just want to open packages with it. I'm like, no, it's okay. I have.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna start just filing the edges of it so that they're real sharp, like razor sharp. Just kidding. I'm not gonna do that.
I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to kill and curse anything, but Georgia can machete text. I get it.
I would. Yeah, you have to do an article on what you shouldn't do with your Apple Card.
Yeah, exactly. 10 things you should avoid doing.
Cut your steak with it.
God, Canadians are nice.
Yep. So we didn't get Apple Card on Monday, but in iOS 12.4, we got this fun little thing that might be terrible, but could be a nice benefit to people who don't have a lot of storage in their iCloud. And that's direct device-to-device migration of your data. So when you get your new phone, or if you have a second phone that you just decide that you want to start using instead, you normally would either connect to iTunes and use your iTunes backup. So that's fast and easy and great. Or you would use iCloud, which is a little bit slower, but still pretty convenient. And that would allow your old iPhone to transfer all of the data to your new iPhone. They've added one more feature now when it comes to migrating your data from your old phone to your new, which is direct device, using either a literal cable connected from one iPhone to the other using the camera adapter, or over local Wi-Fi. So you don't need a backup is the point of this. Excuse me. This is actually could be potentially a real pain. I haven't tried it yet. I actually deleted all of my data on my iPhone SE so that I could give it a try, but I haven't actually taken the steps to see how long it takes. I purposefully loaded as much stuff as I could on my iPhone XS, so it would be big and really like a massive mess to transfer it over Wi-Fi. But I would say if you have a reasonable amount of space, a reasonable amount of storage used on your iPhone, you're probably looking at about an hour and a half to transfer data this way, instead of 10 or 15 minutes or less, to do it over using an iCloud backup. But we're getting to the point now where iCloud, not a lot of people can really even use it because there's too much things to store in iCloud. So your free 5 gigs, it gets used up really fast. And iPhone backups alone are 1 to 2 gigs usually, sometimes even more than that. So if you just don't use iCloud, you're kind of stuck with having to plug into your computer and do a backup through iTunes, and then take back that backup to put into your new phone. And so this is not an easier process, but another process. And I think it's good. I think it's good that Apple brought that
I
along.
like it, but I like it for like real different reasons. Like the primary one is just privacy. Like if you don't want anything on iCloud, yes, it's great if like iCloud is down or you were out of space or you haven't done a recent backup. Because one thing with iCloud backup, oh, your last iCloud backup was 2 days ago. Do you want to do another one before you do it? No, I just want to transfer now. But if you're in a country or an area, or even like you're not comfortable with like FBI warrants in the US or surveillance warrants in the UK, and you don't want any of your data to be stored on anybody else's computers, and you don't necessarily have a laptop or something with you that runs Windows or Mac to run iTunes, you can just take your old phone and your new phone, put them together. And yeah, I still got to download apps because the apps get app thinned and they have bitcode and whatever. But all the data, all the personal data never leaves your control. It goes from your one phone to your other phone, no one else's servers in between. And I kind of sort of hope that Apple takes this a step further and creates a private iCloud option where I can put a disk drive online and say, I want the advantages of iCloud, but I want them to be on my local network, not on your AWS or Azure powered network. So I'm hoping that this is just the beginning of them tightening the screws even further in terms of privacy.
Privacy, yeah.
Yeah, and at least if nothing else, at least giving you that option, because from my perspective, I hear you, Renee. We have these conversations a lot, and I do respect how much you embrace this kind of security and privacy, but it is also at the expense.
Chasing you, and you have to go from burner iPhone to burner iPhone because she absolutely positively will not stop until she gets you. You don't know how invaluable it is to be in that back alley looking over your shoulder and just transferring data between new iPhones while her back brain plug is connected to iCloud looking for your every move.
Oh, you really just
people that handle though like really invaluable or very private information. This is a lifesaver. This makes you be able to feel like you don't have to, give like, if you're a lawyer or you're, an activist for, something that you worry about, healthcare providers.
Or you're traveling through some dodgy country that doesn't necessarily respect digital privacy.
Which all of them, I don't know. I don't think that Canada is really great for that either. So, it's just this, if you want to, this is an option so you don't have to worry.
Yeah, and it's definitely a great thing to be able to have this choice, to be able to decide one way or another. Like for me, I will choose the convenience and under this circumstance because it's so much faster to do to migrate my data using iCloud. But for some people, the privacy is more important than the convenience, and that's to have that option.
iTunes, because I'm in a coffee shop after getting my demo unit. And I just need to get it up and running as fast as possible. And the internet is never working. And so I plug it in and I say, do an encrypted backup. And it never works 100% right. And then I come back and there's some passwords I don't remember. But at least I got that phone up and running in 15 minutes. So I understand completely, Lori. We do what we have to survive.
I will survive. Before we move on to our next topic, I want to take a moment to tell you a little something about Rhone. What is Rhone, you might be asking?
I
It's a
was.
men's performance lifestyle brand design that is made with comfort and style in mind. It's not just workout clothes. Rhone offers casual work attire that feels like you're in your jammies, but looks like you're ready for the office.
Which
My
is the
significant
best thing
other,
ever.
yes, my significant other, he's the type of person that likes to wear jeans and a t-shirt all the time. If he didn't have to go to work, he would never wear anything but jeans and a t-shirt. But of course, life gets in the way and he has to dress like a big boy when he goes into the office. So I started shopping Rhone for some pants for him. And I came across their commuter collection, which is perfect for him. They're like yoga pants, but for work. And I don't mean ladies' yoga pants. What I mean is they're incredibly comfortable. But they look like work pants. They look like something you can wear to the office. The commuter pants comes in two different styles, just the regular style and slim. So for all the men out there who like to wear those skinny jeans, there's the slim version of commuter pants. They're made from Japanese stretch fabrics. So they're soft and they stretch, and they have extra enforcement in the knees for leaning and sitting and standing. They don't wrinkle. They have pockets so you can put your keys in and your wallet and your iPhone. There's even a zipper pocket on the back. So, if you want to make sure that your wallet is secure, you can zip it into the zipper pocket on the back. They're really great for long flights. My partner, he actually wears them every time we go on vacation. Road trips, because wearing nice, comfortable pants on road trips when we're driving long distances, flying across the country, they're like pajama pants, but they look nice. Rhone also has a huge collection of stylish workout clothes like tank tops, t-shirts, shorts, pants, jackets. They even have some really nice looking swim trunks. It's like luxury workout wear. So you could wear this stuff to the gym. It feels good. It wicks the sweat. It does what gym workout clothes are supposed to do. But you could also end up wearing it to dinner before you go to the gym, and you won't get any sideways looks from your family of like, why are you dressed in your workout clothes when we got to dinner? It looks nice. You can get 20% off your first order right now by going to rhone.com/iMore and entering the promo code iMore. That's RHONE.com/iMore for 20% off your first order. Thanks to Rhone for sponsoring this week's episode of The iMore Show. So getting back to some of the things that we're hearing about, we don't have a whole lot of time left, but we have to talk about this new rumor from the analyst extraordinaire who is claiming that the 16-inch MacBook Pro with scissor keyboard might actually be coming this fall. Did you hear about this one?
Yes, and people are freaking out because it might cost $3,000. And I think they forget how much the 17-inch MacBook used to cost when Apple still made it.
And, if we're talking about, the MacBook Air for $1,000, the MacBook Pro for $2,000, the really big MacBook Pro for $3,000, I mean, it all kind of adds up. It all works.
It'll have a bunch of stuff in it that's expensive, and then it'll go down in price over the next few years, like every MacBook does.
Yep. And those of us who are early adopters make that big mistake of buying these things when they're brand new and cost way more money. And then Apple 2 years later is like, we're going to drop the price of that for you.
But you get 2 extra years out of it, so it all depends.
Yeah.
Like there's that big debate. Like, do you buy so I know some people who never buy what they call Rev A boards, which is the first version of any product because they have them defects and the issues and blah, blah, blah. But then other people don't want to buy the second version because they're going to replace that one eventually. So, I mean, humans can talk themselves into anything. I just think
or
it's
out
really
of it.
cool when you like it. Yeah. Totally.
You can afford to.
Yeah.
Apple does a good job of testing it out.
And Tim Cook won't be, here's buy my new MacBook.
No.
Yeah.
See,
morning, buy my MacBook.
But there's some people that when they see something so cool and awesome and new, cannot help themselves.
Yeah.
They don't need the gun. It's just shiny and cool.
You can use your new Apple Card to buy it, Lori.
I know, because I'll get extra reward points if I buy it with my Apple Card. Yep. It'll be great.
Yeah.
So it's 16 inches, and the scissor keyboard mechanism that we're rumored to be hearing is coming.
That's still just itself.
You don't know. You haven't tried it yet.
That's true, but I'm excited.
Can't take it for granted anymore.
No.
And I still don't know how I feel about the scissor mechanism change. That I think we've talked about it before that there should never be a keyboard that a portion of users hate. It should either be it's fine and I don't notice it, or I love it, right? There shouldn't ever be like something that people actually hate. And people, even without the keyboard issues that we've had, people absolutely hate the butterfly mechanism. Some people.
I'm sitting right next to me, Lori.
Yeah.
Hate.
So
hate.
Yeah, but so Apple was so on board with no, butterfly mechanism all the way, you guys. It's great. This is what we're doing this going forward. Yeah, there was a little mistake. We fixed it, and everything's great. And yeah, it still has some little problems. We fix it. Everybody keep using the butterfly keyboard. You're gonna love it. Just keep using it. And the idea that they're like switching away from that, and they're kind of like doing a 180 and going back to scissor seems a little unusual. I think, Renee, you might have even mentioned that maybe it's going to be like a hybrid version.
I don't know if it'll be a hybrid. It'll be a next generation. Like, I don't think they're just going to take the old scissor keyboard and plop it back in. I mean, a scissor switch is a scissor. A swizzle stick is a scissor switch. But I mean, sometimes things work and sometimes they don't. Like the trackpads, they switched to. Like the trackpads are all fake now. They're not real. There's no mechanism in them. You turn that computer off, it's a dead piece of metal. And some people hated it. Well, at first, some people hated it. They hated the idea of it. It was weird, but like nobody complains now.
No,
it's industry wide. They're still the best trackpads.
Most people even would still not believe.
Yeah,
that there's no mechanism in it,
and it's so much better because the top works now, which didn't always.
Well, exactly. You don't have to worry about a mechanism breaking because there's no mechanism.
And that's what I think it was with the keyboard. It's like Apple knows that there's going to be pushback in the beginning because they're like, we got rid of your USB port and you hated it for about a year and then you were fine.
Yeah, and so they expected that.
Yeah, so they expect it, and I think sometimes it's hard for them to filter out like just the negative hate they get right away that disappears from, no, you really screwed this up. Yeah. And it's not that everybody didn't like it, but enough people didn't like it. And then when you add the hardware failures, I think they actually, because you can't just make a new keyboard quickly. Like, it's not like they're like last year, oh, we got to stop. They must have known pretty fast, like probably by the time the MacBook Pro shipped, because there was very little complaint about the MacBook. It was such a niche product. And it's not like, well, you're sacrificing the keyboard feel for that ultra compact. It was like a fair deal, people thought. Even if it's not perfect, it's so light and so thin and all. But when it got to the MacBook Pro, and people are like, I am trying to make Lord of the Rings Chapter 5 and I cannot get this. It's like a problem. And I think at that point, a couple of years ago, they realized, and it takes like a couple of years to make a keyboard. So they probably realized early on, it's like, we kind of hope this would work. We all really love it, but we've heard what you're saying, and we'll fix this. We'll see if we can make the best of both worlds for you.
Yeah, hopefully they have better finger feel. It's not just the I want it to push down a little bit. I want to get that feedback of that little tiny feeling of like, good job, you've hit the key. Feeling. So it's not just that my K does not work, and so.
But also, it's loud. Like the thing is, I actually prefer this keyboard. Like I prefer typing on the old one. The old one feels loose and goosey to me.
Like typing
but it's
on
also
glass,
loud.
Though. You would, yeah, it is loud.
And
it's true.
And like so, like you like, and I don't like big old clickety clackety ones. But like this gives you, I prefer it, but it's also loud, and I kind of feel like it should be quieter, frankly, because it doesn't have any travel.
What is all that noise? Yeah.
So like, there's no perfect keyboard, and you can't make everybody happy. But like Lori said earlier, I think you don't want to piss anybody off, especially if it's Apple's the only one who makes Macs.
People didn't have the thing, and I think that you said this before, Renee, is that no one really hated the old keyboard, and that's the problem. Is that you don't want to create hate for a product where there wasn't hate beforehand. And I'm absolutely with you, especially when we podcast. Like to try to type something in to search for it while you're podcasting, that would be, would be, at least if it was silent, it would be maybe a fair, I don't get the feel, but at least I'm not making any noise. If it was just a fake keyboard, just like the fake trackpad, it at least would not make any noise. And maybe that would be a fair trade in between it.
Well, I got a $3,000 computer to make it right for you.
I would just have all the.
Well, then it's going to go. So, but the keyboard will go to the Air, and it'll go to the next generation of other Macs as well.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to get, Joda? Do you think you're going to get any version of a MacBook at the end of this year if they have scissor mechanism?
I probably won't. I don't usually get things right away when they come out. I will test it out and then see. And then
you'll just take Renee's.
Worthwhile, because I have my Mac. Yes. Yeah, well, he's not looking. But I have my MacBook, which though, like it's light,
It's so
it's
pretty.
easy, it's pretty, and all I do usually with it, if I'm going to do anything that takes a lot of processing power, I'm downstairs on my computer. So but that's just my companion computer to
It's
be
her
able
Reddit
to
machine.
do. Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
probably mostly what I do on it, and answer emails.
Yeah, yeah.
So I say lie instead of like. That's okay. I just have to tap it many times.
Oh, I've got the problem with my keyboard. Mine's the I key, and I know I need to take it in. It's so hard. I don't own a car, so like getting to the Apple Store right now for me is like I have to take a car. I have to take a lift or
I picture
something
you
like
had a
that.
bike.
So.
Yeah.
I do have a bike, but I like to
Electric
get
bike.
to where the Apple Store is would require me to either ride my bike on the freeway or ride
No,
my
I
bike
meant like a big chopper.
Oh,
a
yeah,
motorcycle.
Lord,
I
that's
could
true.
just picture Lori on that.
But we don't want to
Harley
have a
Davidson.
Motormobile. You're too important.
Yeah. Okay, so we are at the end of our wonderful hour together, and I have enjoyed your company so very much.
Aw, likewise.
Renee, if people want to find you on the internet, where can they find you?
They can go to @ReneeRitchie on all the social things. They can go to youtube.com/vector for the videos and imore.com/vector for the articles that go with those videos. When Lori lets me publish them.
They make the cut.
And Georgia, if people want to find you on the internets, how can they find you?
You can check me out on Twitter every once in a while. It's @Georgia_Dow. If not you dealing with anxiety, depression, you can check out anxiety-videos.com.
And if Micah Sargent were here, which he's not anymore, and I'm going to give him one last plug because we love you, Micah. You could find him at chihuahua.coffee. And I do not know how to spell Chihuahua, so I'm not going to spell it out for you. But just a little hat tip to our old friend Micah, who is no longer on the show with us. He's moved on to bigger and better things.
Micah was my favorite.
Yeah, that was really good.
And if you want to find me on the internets, you can find me at Appleholic on Twitter. That's APPAHOLIK. And at Lori Gill at most other social things. And I want to thank Jim Mitzendorf for making us sound so good. And I'm telling you, I sound like a chipmunk until he gets a hold of me and puts a nice filter on it. Makes me sound like I have this smoky voice.
Oh,
and so thank you, Jim.
Chipmunk Lori. You always sound adorable and sultry.
And thank you to all of our listeners. It's been a great hour, and we appreciate that you take the time to listen to us, and I hope you keep coming back every week. And again, last week we had a little bit of an audio issue, so thank you to everybody who let us know. We took care of it as soon as possible. And just so you know, we love to hear that feedback from you, so feel free to add us on Twitter anytime you want. If you just want to say hi, we're here for you. Okay, Thanks very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Lori.